Is this island better than the Lofoten Islands? What's up guys, I'm Vince and this is Vince Ventures. If you are new to this channel, this is a story of how my brother and I decided to drive our late grandfather's 1996 Renault Megane to the North Cape, Europe's most northern point accessible by car. I am sharing my adventures, travel experiences and beautiful trips on this platform to provide recommendations and ideas in case you are planning a similar trip, or maybe you just want to watch some different landscapes and escape from reality. If you already watched the last videos, thank you so much for sticking around and supporting me, and if not, go check them out. In the last video you have seen us finally making it into the Arctic Circle and visiting the Arctic Circle Center and camping at a nice spot near Narvik. On the next morning we had breakfast, but it was cold and our tent was wet from the rain during the night, and I was excited that we booked accommodation for the upcoming nights. For this day we had a longer ride planned to Olderdalen, but decided to take a detour and visit the Island of Senja. We started driving and stopped in Narvik for fuel for around 23 krones or €1.90 per liter and continued our trip. Today it was rainy and super windy, and I really had to pay attention to keep the car in lane when there were sudden strong winds, especially on the bridges. After the heavy rain stopped, the roads became unpaved on the island of Senja. It seems common in Scandinavia that when a road is renovated, you just drive on the road regardless in which state of renovation the workers are, so either sand, gravel, more gravel or new asphalt. At some points we had to wait for a convoy, and sometimes the stones on the road were so big and the road itself so uneven that our old car hit ground on several occasions, and we had to drive super slowly, most of the time barely exceeding 30 km per hour. After a tedious drive and driving through unlit tunnels, we arrived in Fjordgard. It is a super small village on the island with only around 200 people living there. We parked our car and walked through the rain to an unexpectedly nice restaurant called the Segler Grill and Pub. We had a nice burger which was expensive but totally worth it, especially after the exhausting drive. Back to our normal strength, we decided to hike up the nearest mountain called Segler. The rain stopped just as we were halfway up the mountain, and the view was just spectacular. Even for untrained persons, the walk is doable, and if you ever come here, you just have to walk up there. On the top, we randomly met another guy from Germany who told us that he was camping the other night right across from Fjordgard on the next mountain, which seems really lonely but also tempting to do one day. The landscape was really beautiful and it was so empty. This is why I would even say that this island might be even more beautiful than the Lofoten Islands. If I ever come back here, I would really like to spend some more days on this beautiful island. We didn't hike up all the way because the wind was too strong on this day and we were running out of time. After our little hike, we realized that the last ferry off the island would be leaving in not too much time, and if we wouldn't make it to that ferry, we would have to go back all the way via the unpaved roads under construction. We hurried, but with the strict speed limits there wasn't much room to gain time, and when we arrived at the ferry terminal we could see the barriers going down and the ferry departing. So we continued driving slowly back to mainland, fueled up our car for €1.77 per liter, so actually quite cheap, and continued into the night to our accommodation in Olderdalen. Because we planned to arrive later in the evening, we booked self-check-in accommodations only, but although it was stated as self-check-in, no one was there to open up our room when we arrived. We knocked everywhere and tried to call the owner, but he wasn't helpful at all. Luckily, some guys from France kindly let us sleep in their room, which was much better than camping in 5 degrees and rain outside. But still, we were bummed out that after such a long day, the accommodation was not as expected. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, I put the links to the places we visited down in the description box below. Next week you will see us driving the last big stretch to the North Cape through a storm which nearly forced us to turn around right before the end. Oh, and we saw for the first time on this trip reindeers. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and see you next week.